Lynae is already super popular right now, and honestly, she's looking like a must pull. But probably not for the reason you think. Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down the whole Lynae puzzle, why she's probably a must pull, and which teams she actually works in. So I know you're about to say, how can you know she's that good when she's not even out yet? And fair point, but after the official livestream, Kuro basically left us some kind of puzzle. And after solving this puzzle, I realized that Lynae is either really good or absolutely useless. Look, the puzzle I talk about is hidden in the information from the livestream and the patch itself. If you actually connect the dots, which I will do for you right now, you'll notice that we already know way more about Lynae than people think. Enough to say that she is very likely going to be a very solid character. Comparable to Shorekeeper, just in a different role. Especially if we consider all rumors around her kit that are going around right now. So let's start with the puzzle I was talking about. If you go to the Events tab and look at New Update 3.0 and then click New Enemies and Echoes, you'll see that we're not just getting new echoes, but also getting 3 brand new echo sets. Now here's where it gets interesting. From the livestream, we already know that Lynae is a Spectro pistol user, and Mornye, the second officially confirmed character so far, is a Fusion Broadblade user. It was also mentioned during the livestream that Lynae can be played more damage oriented, but also somewhat supportive, while Mornye seems to lean much more into a support healer role. So what does it actually mean? If we look at the new sets, we can see that 2 of them are Spectro sets, both buffing Spectro damage with their 2-piece effect. Since Mornye is a fusion character, she obviously cannot really make use of those, it just wouldn't make any sense. That leaves us with the 3rd set, and that one actually fits Mornye extremely well. The 2-piece effect gives healing bonus, and the 5-piece effect provides an attack buff for all resonators in the team. Healing fits a support character perfectly, and that lines up really well with Mornye. Especially because, according to the livestream, Lynae doesn't have any healing abilities at all. Now, another important thing we saw during the livestream is that Lynae has 2 skill sets, and one of them uses the same icon as the Spectro set here, Rite of Guild Revelation. It was also mentioned that Lynae can be built more towards damage, and this set supports that idea really well. Dealing basic attack damage increases Spectro damage, it stacks, and casting Resonance Liberation increases Spectro damage even further. In other words, this is a self-buffing set for Spectro characters. It buffs the character that is currently on the field, but no other character. And that fits perfectly with a damage-oriented Lynae playstyle. Then we have the other Spectro set, which also buffs Spectro damage, but more importantly, it buffs the next character. It gives an attack buff, probably a flat value plus some percentage scaling, and then an additional buff based on the new Tune Break mechanic. That makes the set feel very Sub DPS oriented. It's kind of comparable to something like Sanhwa or older sets like Moonlit Cloud or Empyrean, except this time the trigger isn't coordinated attacks, but the new Tune Break mechanic instead. And because this buff is not tied to any element, it works with any character. Basically, it's like Empyrean or Moonlit Cloud, but potentially even stronger thanks to the extra Tune Break attack scaling. Now let's briefly talk about the rumors, not in detail, but just the general idea. According to them, Lynae's outro skill does not give a Spectro buff, and she doesn't provide any Spectro frazzle either. So she is not a Spectro Sub DPS like some people might have hoped. But instead, she provides a generic damage amplifier and a liberation damage bonus. If that is true, then she suddenly becomes viable as a Sub DPS in a lot of existing teams. And by that, I mean even non-Spectro teams. She could work with basically any character that A wants liberation damage and B scales well with attack. The first character that comes to mind is Zhangli Yao, who has an insanely high liberation damage and still relies heavily on basic attacks afterward. Camellia also comes to mind. She already benefits a lot from attack buffs from Sanhwa or Roshia, for example, and this could be even stronger for her. Now Frolova could also profit from this. She already has a lot of attack in her kit, but some extra attack plus a damage amplifier is never bad. Then Jinji and Carlotta can also benefit from attack buff plus damage amplification. Both prefer skill damage, but still scale with attack from the Sonata set. And extra liberation damage on Carlotta is very solid too, because we all know she ults like 6 times, I think. And of course, all heavy attack characters benefit as well, like Gian, Augusta, and Zani. Attack buff plus damage amplification just works on them. This is also why you build Phoebe on full attack to buff Zani. You could even do some very wild stuff, like buffing your sub DPS characters like Yuno for example, in your Augusta or even Gian team comps. That opens up double sub DPS setups, which is honestly one of the coolest things about Lynae, and kind of hits like mono fusion, but not with a mono element. You can theoretically play her in almost any team. She might not always be the best option, especially if you already have fully built meta teams, but she is always an option. She's kind of like Shorekeeper in that sense. She works everywhere, but you're not forced to use her anywhere. And that's especially great for newer players. One character that can cover multiple team slots is incredibly valuable. On top of that, if you don't need her as a sub DPS because you already have Yuno or some other character that fits into this role, you can just build her as a main damage dealer instead. One more thing that makes her really free to play friendly, she's a pistol user. And that is huge, because she already has access to 2 of the best weapons in the game, being Static Mist and Carlotta's signature, The Last Dance. If you're playing her as a sub DPS, you can just slap Static Mist on her. That weapon alone gives her around 24% crit rate, I think, which makes her insanely easy to build as a sub DPS with high crit rate and still solid damage. And if you want to play her as a main DPS, you can most likely just borrow The Last Dance from Carlotta. It gives 72% crit damage, so you can focus way more on crit rate, and on top of that, it also gives 12% attack. That's already a crazy stat stick. Now keep in mind, since Lynae has 2 different skill modes, her best weapon is probably still going to be her own signature weapon, Spectrum Blaster. It's very likely that the effects of Spectrum Blaster are designed around switching between sub DPS and main DPS playstyles, and even swapping Sonata sets depending on how you play her. But one thing is clear, Lynae is extremely versatile and seems to have a very wide use case. And because of that, I really don't think she's a character you should skip. Those are my thoughts on Lynae so far. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you the next time. Peace out.